Today, let us discuss about cell-mediated immunity, which is mediated by T lymphocytes. These T lymphocytes, they act against the intercellular organisms like viruses, parasites, fungi, tumor cells, and transplanted tissues, and also in chronic bacterial infections like tuberculosis. So viruses, especially they are host-dependent cells, so they consist of only the nucleic acids, and for the production of energy and replication of its own cell, it all depends completely on the host cells. So after infecting the host cell become non-self. So the non-self infected cell will be attacked by the B cell. The viruses either damages completely the host cell, or by producing the toxic substances, it converts it into a cancer cell. Mechanism of cell mediated immunity. So first is antigen recognition, processing, and then presenting it to the T cell. The second one is activation and proliferation of the T cell, and finally elimination of the invader. Antigen recognition. On entry into the body, the antigens, it binds with the appropriate receptor which is present in the antigen presenting cells, and antigen presenting cells gets activated. So what is this antigen presenting cell? These are the cell that processes and presents the antigen to the appropriate T cells. So which are all the antigen presenting cells? They are the macrophages, there are dendritic cells, and also B lymphocytes themselves, the B cells. MHC antigen, which is a self antigen, there are two classes. Class 1, which is only recognized by the cytotoxic T cells. So along with the cytotoxic T cells, it destroys the infected host cell, mainly infected by the viruses. And class 2, which is recognized only by the helper T cells, along with the helper T cells, it activates the antigen presenting cells. Antigen processing and presentation. So antigen is engulfed by the process of endocytosis, and then there happens the phagosome, then lysosome, along with the phagosome forms the phagolysosome, and then happens the synthesis of the MHC molecule. So the MHC molecule then forms the fusion of the MHC molecule and the antigen complex, and then finally the incorporation of the antigen MHC complex on the cell surface. So this is the antigen presenting cell processing the antigen and presenting it. The antigen presenting cell with the antigen and the MHC2 complex, it circulates in the blood and the lymph until it finds a proper T cell receptor. When it finds the T cell receptor, it binds with the T cell receptor and activates the T cell. So for the activation of the T cell, so the activation the of the adhesion protein is also required, apart from the binding of the T cell receptor and the MSC antigen complex. So the junction between the T cell and the antigen presenting cell is called as immunological synapse. Activation and proliferation of T cells. Here two types of cells gets activated. So the type 1 helper cells, which secretes interleukin 2, and the T8 cells. So activation of T8 cells happens. So the co-stimulation of uh, the T8 cells by the interleukin helps in the differentiation of T8 cells into cytotoxic T cells and the memory T cells. So the cytotoxic T cells helps in killing the invader by various mechanisms that we will see later. And memory cells, they remember this original invader, and if at all, if the same invader invades again, so it will keep in memory, and when the reinvasion happen, it kills the microbes immediately without waiting for all these processes. So the secondary response will be much faster than the primary response. Elimination of the invader, the cytolysis cell, it secretes the perforins, the water channels, and incorporate it in the invading organisms. So by which the water gets into the microorganisms, and that causes the swelling, and finally it undergoes the osmotic lysis. And the next one is the cytotoxic cell. It also secretes the gamma interferon, which is an antiviral. So antiviral interferon, it causes the phagocytosis, it promotes the phagocytosis, and also the cytotoxic cells, it secretes the lymphotoxins, and these lymphotoxins, they also destroy the invading organisms. Thank you for listening, and see you soon in our next video.